Hello and welcome to another edition of Over the Counter from Prescription. Coffee is something that is universal in terms of being a stimulant, but there are many questions that do arise with the capability and the extent of this particular brew. Let's look at an interesting issue here, and that is one of adding sugar to your coffee and what it does to you when they take the combination. I came across an article recently in the New Atlas that talks about how the addition of coffee to your first morning cup could really provide you an unexpected boost and a hack for the entire morning. I am very much like this lady over here who states that coffee turns leave me alone into good morning. I, for one, just cannot start my day without my morning cup of coffee. I'm not a coffee addict. I usually don't drink more than 2 cups a day, but that morning boost to start your day and say, hey, let's take things on, I find is very essential. But the question arises is, can adding sugar to your coffee intensify caffeine's impact on energy and your biological rhythms, your so-called diurnal rhythms? We're not entirely sure, again, how this effect occurs, and there is always the possibility that the high can be from the sugar and not from the coffee, because both sugar and coffee operate on the reward system of the brain, producing what we all know today as the popular dopamine hits, the reasons why you keep endlessly scrolling through your social media. Does this effect really exist, or is it just something that we imagine? Well, let's look at it, and whenever we have a problem, scientists are very fond of going back to the laboratory with the issue. And here is a study on lab mice, okay, not humans, lab mice, where they gave them coffee. They gave them sweetened caffeine water, and they allowed these mice to run around and drink them in the mornings. And they found that coffee, the sugar in the coffee, really had a positive effect. Now, one might well wonder, how do you know the rats are really getting a boost? Are they running over to their typewriters or their other work-related issues? We don't know, but apparently what they do is they look at something called free running time, the amount of time these little fellows, the rodents, just scamper all over the place. And they showed that if the mice who were exposed to this caffeinated water actually did much better in terms of their running time, and this was independent of exposure to daylight and darkness. The scientists therefore concluded that the effects of the added sugar were independent of the circadian rhythms of the brain. This was not something that happened because the mice got up in the morning. It was a real effect. So, experiment with your morning coffee. It need not necessarily be white sugar, although white sugar has been given a bad rap that does not deserve, and I have written about this in an earlier issue. But if you don't like taking white sugar for whatever reason, try taking your morning coffee with something sweet like a roll or something to give you that sugar boost. But again, there's a small word of warning. Don't do it at night. It can keep you awake. On my own reservations about this paper is that one, it was done on mice, and we know we are all not mice, and as the expression goes, are you a man or a mouse? Squeak up. Anytime we extrapolate from animal studies to the humans, we're always jumping across a bridgeless gap. And this data has to be taken with a little bit of, maybe not a pinch of salt, at least a pinch of sugar. But then remember that this rule does not apply to artificial sweeteners, your Splenda and its breed. Very distinctively, sugar, for some reason, gives a high that the artificial sweeteners just don't deliver. And this is one reason why many of us don't like also using it, me included. Anyway, it works for me, and often that's the best way of finding out whether it works for you. Try it. It's basically harmless, and it's a piece of advice that might really give you an additional boost from your morning cup. Thank you for listening and watching this presentation. If you liked it, please share it with your friends and colleagues, repost it. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter so you can make sure you don't miss out on any issues. And you can read the archives and much more at my website, that's located at prescription.com. There is a hyphen between the P and the R. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Have a great day.